Okay, The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. When we last left the company of dwarves and hobbits, they were still being chased by a group of orcs, after having just escaped the underground lair of the goblin, of a goblin king, while on their way to try to make it to the mountain that used to be their mountain home that is currently overrun by a dragon known as Smaug. So in this one, they continue their journey. They're still being hounded by the army, by this small company of orcs. Ironically, the orc who's chasing them does actually change to a different orc, because the master calls the first orc back. So you have a slightly different company of orcs who are chasing down the dwarves and the singular hobbit. Well, they're also trading with Gandalf for a little while. Then obtaining a large, which I'll just say, probably one of the creepiest forests that has a bizarre, almost like LSD illusionary effect, that once you leave the mystical path, crazy things happen. And that's also when this movie splits path. Gandalf goes off on a lone adventure to battle some new force of evil which is behind the orcs, while everyone else tries to continue on to make it to the mountain to finally see if they can either A, get the object inside the mountain, get this very special jewel which will allow Thorin to become king and potentially get all of the other dwarf armies together to defeat Smaug, or if they can even just make it to the mountain itself. There's a lot of misadventures along the way, and a lot of action sequences. Of course, they do run into the elves, which therefore allows Legolas to get a decent amount of screen time in. They do which I'll just say was absolutely hilarious, barrel sequence. This movie's got some moments that are as funny as a barrel of dwarves. And a good job that whenever they introduce a new character, they do give you enough of a background on each individual character that they actually feel somewhat rounded. It's not just like, oh, and then I met so-and-so, oh, and then I met so-and-so. It's like, oh, this guy, here's his background. They throw in a couple nice little nods here and there to the Lord of the Rings series as well. And they still did an amazing job of making the ring, this small, simple gold banded ambient object, having it have such fantastic weight and stage presence. When it falls, there's always that look towards it, and when they show it sitting there, they do a great job with cinematography of this one lone object to give it this really magical and really intense feeling. So I didn't see it in 3D because it's hard to watch a 3-hour movie in 3D. It just is. So that was fantastic. If you liked the first one, but thought the first one was a little bit too slow, this one's got a lot more action to it. This one picks up the pace a lot more, and it ends in a spot where you're like, and then we're going to end here? Oh. So that's it for the basic review. Now I'm going to go, of course, into a light amount of spoilers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here's some of the spoilers. They constantly mention there's a necromancer slightly farther north. Well, instead of going after the necromancer, they kind of send Gandalf and the druid from the first Hobbit to check on this prison. The 9 gates are open. The gates were housing the Nazgul. So they're thinking, well, could the necromancer have summoned the Nazgul? No. Someone else broke free of the Nazgul. So the evil force that's creating his own small army of orcs, through a fantastic sequence, Gandalf does do battle with the entity that does reveal himself to be Sauron, and captures Gandalf. And of course, the movie also ends with, so you have Gandalf captured by Sauron, and then Smaug is not defeated by the dwarves, and instead is going after the town right on the outside of the mountain, where the one person with the one weapon that can be used to kill Smaug is located. The Black Arrow. So we're saying the third one is pretty much going to be the Legolas has to hunt down the new lead orc. They have to defeat the dragon. I'm pretty sure Bard's the one who's going to defeat the dragon, therefore to become king of the small. It's the river city. It's a city that's entirely covered in water, but it just seems so horrible and run down. So you can tell that once the dwarves were done, there was no money leaving, plus having a giant dragon pretty much just a little ways away from your town is probably not that great unless you're looking for adventuring parties. Good job when it came to doing the overall desolation. I mean, it's just not just the mountain; it's all the surrounding areas too that have just been destroyed. So, very well done movie.